Welcome to Invest. We're talking about investing, finance, a professional Raymond. It's the current time of 10:05 a.m. on the Eastern Time on December 5th on Monday. Hope you guys had a good weekend and also happy Monday. With respect to Ethereum, $100,277, about 0.19% so far. On the overall crypto market, I would say is relatively not really moving much across the spectrum. You could see that it's quite up or downs, but it's more like just kind of normalizing, gliding away, consolidating at the respective level that we've identified on a technical perspective. And for Ethereum, that's gliding above 1250, which is a substantive level that we've identified so far. But on the equity front, it's definitely a little bit more volatile as we are closing in and approaching year end, but also with respect to the upcoming CPI report at the FOMC meeting, depicting on the outlook for next year going forward, but also with respect to looking into the inflationary pressure and the report card for how did the Black Friday and the Thanksgiving holiday sales triangulate into what should be a rosy CPI report, and with respect to, the potential, and again, potentially decreasing the rate size from 75 basis point to 50 basis point going forward. So something we don't know collectively is that's going to be the case yet. But with respect to the media front, you could see this morning, you could see the equity market is relatively suppressed, down 1% across the spectrum, not a significant amount, but this is mainly driven by fear, right? You could see the VIX is high, like, well, not exponentially high, but up 6.61%. Around the topic of, is the Fed going to keep raising the interest rates, driving us into Armageddon or recession, if that makes any sense. And on the overall market front, you could see that the news is still kind of pointing towards SBF, around obviously what we have seen in the recent media coverage from ABC, from CNBC as well, talking about Sam Bankman-Fried on his long interviews with these two respective publication company on his perspective on what really happened. And I think this is a quite unorthodox approach for a public figure like this. He's basically going against his advice from his PR team or his legal team, just frankly exposing himself in multiple ways. I mean, I get it. It is ultimately a people's business, so I think it's probably a good approach to be extremely upfront and honest, despite the whole initializations of this scandal or this criminal activity is driven by some fraudulent activity, right? But based on the high level synopsis on his verbiage, is that he denies of specific wrongdoing, utilizing clients' capital onto funding Alameda research, and which obviously is a great no-no. Is also a great area that kind of mix with conflict of interest, especially if they're a financial firm. It's just I wouldn't say insider trading, but it's definitely market making in a way that's illegal, without fully disclosing to customers and obviously public investors. And when ABC, George Stephanopoulos, asked that question specifically, Sam was, he was like, I guess, acting ignorant or acting clueless. Like, oh, I should have, caught that. But I was like, that's a pretty obvious, answer that he did. But he just didn't want to, I guess, bluntly say it. So he took the other route by acting stupid. But obviously, he didn't build to become what it is today by being stupid. So I would say it's more of just we have a better understanding of his characterization, but I would say based on the body language and the verbiage that he explained for, I would say collectively 4 hours of interviews from CNBC and ABC, my 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 perception is that definitely he's is definitely was some fraudulent activity, but I guess he was a little bit too cocky, too ambitious, a little immature with some of the tactics that he has done that drive this into the collapse that we're seeing in front of our eyes. This is one of the biggest financial failure in our lifetime, and it's unfortunate that he's only in his 30s, early 30s. Like I think he's only 31, 30 years old, and for me that is in similar age. I mean, to have your reputation to be completely destroyed in front of our eyes, from it's a very pump and dump if you think about it, because he was in the Forbes Iconoclast Summit I would say a couple months ago, giving him an award. He was on cover of magazines and stuff like that, and next thing you know, this whole disastrous story unfolds to the way that it is now. So you could, whatever goes really, really fast comes down just as fast. I guess that's a way that you could kind of think about this in a media PR perspective. So interesting. And then with respect to the other news, it's really just talking about regurgitation news all around the reopening of Chinese economy. So a lot of Chinese stocks are actually rallying today. I saw like NEO up 8% at one point, and so on and so forth. And these are relatively, just trivial news. Seems like there's some news around Bitcoin could plunge 70% to $5,000. Standard Chartered predicts. I mean, this is speculation, right? Ultimately, it has to be reaching down in a respectable technical level that is logical, and you could see that oppositely. Tim Draper predicts that Bitcoin will reach 250,000 next year despite FTX collapse. I mean, these are all very polarizing speculations, and ultimately what has to make sense has to technically and qualitatively make sense. So let's dive right into the technical. But you know what? Before we do that, let's just take a look at the purchasing behavior from ARK Invest and BlackRock recently. And you could see that with respect to ARK Invest, it was a relatively sell day on the past Friday, in comparisons to buy day. For BlackRock, you could see that was definitely a heavy sell day, with no purchasing behavior at all. So it was definitely, hedging that Monday will be a red day. I mean, I guess it makes sense because of the, if you think about it, Friday was more of like a relief rally with some normalization. But with respect to the anticipated pressure for the upcoming CPI, the FOMC meeting, the job report was a relatively hot one. So anticipating some sell-off on the Monday open is very logical. So I think, the approach that BlackRock took was quite, I would say in a technical risk management perspective makes total sense. And then with respect to some politicians' behavior, you could see that there's been some buying activities, but mostly happening on the 1st of December, mainly driven by these folks on the right side of the corner of this chart. I mean, refer us to the Patreon updates that we have on a day-to-day basis for your further reference. So let's just dive into technical without wasting more time. With respect to recording time of 10:14 a.m. on the Eastern time, we are still gliding away. You can see that clearly on the daily. We are still, elongated, extended with 1, 2, 3 heads of, rejecting up above at $1,300. We are basically just gliding at the sideways fashion at 1250, which is very logical. It is a level that we should be consolidating at with nothing that is exogenous or outside the box at the moment. With respect to weekly, you could see that we're fusing together. We have clearly 1, 2, 3, 4 heads. So it's definitely leaning more towards the bearish side of the spectrum compared to the monthly. Monthly is showing that we are gliding away, eventually going up from here. And this makes logical sense, right? I think what we are basically depicting is that we should expect to see some short-term volatility as we approach closer to the next week, right, which is 13 and 14 on the FOMC meeting. As we get the clearance, we should ideally see some, upward pressure from here, which makes sense because of the Santa Claus rally. And a lot of fund managers are incentivized to want to pump up the portfolio by year end. So you wouldn't be surprised if you see very positive news all happening out of nowhere, and then subsequently propel us collectively just based on the direct correlation effects from the equity and the crypto market. Bitcoin is also daily is quite extended, but not like severely. But we could see clearly with 1, 2, 3 heads that are rejecting at the $17,000 level. We are forming some sort of a resistance. And if you look on the weekly, we are still relatively bearish. You could see we're clearly still forming these descending escalator trends. And also with 1, 2, 3, 4 heads looking to kind of glide down from here. So definitely watch out. I think Bitcoin might see some volatility coming as we approach the FOMC meeting on the 13th and 14th. And as we get over this, we cross down on daily and weekly. The monthly should look quite bullish from here. Okay. And then on the index front, just took a look at the index front. You could see that we are opening on a relatively decent day, but you could see that we're still gliding away. Monthly looks quite bullish. We're about to cross up already. We're plateauing, so that's good. Weekly is quite extended for some reason. I mean, we are hitting a wall right now. It seems like we are forming some sort of a reverse head and shoulder. So this is the shoulder, this is the head. So we need to kind of come down halfway, ideally to 385 first. So seeing some short-term, dump as we get closer to FOMC meeting would not be a surprise. So again, right, as zigzag. So this is the shoulder, head, shoulder, and then reverse up from here, and then breaking above the next level of coming back up to the current level right now would make a lot of sense. And then with respect to daily, it looks quite bearish actually. We are about to cross down, so we have clearly rejected many times up above here. So seeing some lower level again, right, 385 and then bounce. So basically you'll be doing this like going up from here, which we get rejected, and now coming down to 385 and then come back up from here. Okay. So appreciate you for hopping on a call with me this morning again. It's a little bit longer than usual, but we have a lot to cover, right? But I appreciate you for your collaboration every single day, and obviously being a trooper for staying consistent with our meetings every day. And let me know how it goes, and reach out if you have any questions. Okay, appreciate you. Take care. Bye.